My name's Sabrina Shankman. I am a reporter for InsideClimate News based in South Portland, Maine. When we're not in the middle of a pandemic, I'm normally writing about the Arctic, and I've also been working on a series about emissions from bulk petroleum storage tanks.
But we are in the middle of a pandemic. Can you tell me about how that led to the idea for this story?
So this is one of those stories that came really from my own life. I have a 16-month-old daughter and a 4.5-year-old son. And so I think all the time about how to talk to my son about what I do. You cannot tell a 4.5-year-old about the realities of climate change, but I find ways to talk to him about it. So that's always in the back of my head. And then I found that as this response to coronavirus was happening, I was having the same thoughts. You know, how to explain to him why he can't go to school anymore, how to explain to him why we can't go do things or see people or you name it. I was struck by this, like when it comes to these big, scary ideas, like when the very earth below your feet is shaking, how do you explain that to a small child in a way that doesn't paralyze them? I used my job as an excuse to figure it out.
So walk me a little bit through your process. How did you decide who you were going to talk to?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was I looked for experts who I could talk to for the story because I wanted to have some framing before I started speaking with like normal parents like myself who are just muddling through. And so I went to places like the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC, both of which have released some guidance related to talking to kids about this. I found the parents a couple different ways. The first thing I did, I'm involved in a couple mom groups on Facebook that are Maine-based, around where I live. And I put a question up. I just said, look, I'm a reporter for InsideClimate News, thinking a lot about the connection between how I'm talking to my kids about COVID-19 and how I talk about climate change. Curious if anybody else is having these thoughts too. I have spent an enormous amount of time on the phone working on this story because people want to talk about the issue and then one thing leads to another and you just kind of keep talking. All these parents are really, they don't know what they're doing. None of us do, but they all were figuring it out. All these parents were like, maybe you could tell me am I doing this right? Most of the time, I think in every call I said, yeah, actually what you said is exactly what this expert said, so great job.